Welcome back to TalkBack from Juhu Beach in Mumbai, India. We are with Nandita. This one you're going to like. I love it how you Indians say tell me. There's a tell me after every, there's an immediate response.
Is
there's
it?
a reaction like tell me, how can I help you?
Very
nice.
helpful people.
Yeah, you guys are. Alright. The commercialization of Bollywood. Everywhere you go, billboards, hoardings, perfumes, washing machines, microwave ovens, pizzas. It's pervasive. It's pervasive.
It's happening to the world. I'm sure it's not. Is it hugely different?
I'm not
in
saying
Karachi?
it's not that.
It's
not that, but it's taken to a different level here, I guess.
Consumerism is the new plague in the world.
What do you think of that? What do you think of consumerism's role in Bollywood?
Well, I mean, it's as much as in everything else. It's just that you see it much more. It's much more visible. There's now product placement. You see 100 products in a film, sometimes so blatant that you're like, oh God, I know this ad is for this, and you know, that much money. Also, the economics has grown much larger now in Bollywood or in mainstream cinema. You know, it's like huge amount of money, a 50 crore film. How do you recover that kind of money? So I think it's all become about economics. I know very little of it, to be honest, because I mostly do very small films. But consumerism is really the big menace now, and I think we all should be concerned because
But why do you call it a menace?
because it's taken over everything else. It's taken over priorities. It's taken over sometimes even ethics. It's taken over a political belief. It's taken over involvement in other things. You know, it's all about success. It's all about money. It's all about getting more stuff. The more you earn, the more you want to spend. And what do you spend on? Not things that are necessities, but obviously things that you don't even need, but are luxuries.
But
so,
I mean, not being from Pakistan,
selling the dream kind of a thing.
Being from Pakistan, where there is star power. Stars do have power, but not. I guess once again, I'm going to use this word. Not as pervasive, not as strong as it is here.
You don't have a big film industry. To begin with,
that
is
just
not
movies, but we have a rather strong music industry, for example. So our musicians sort of step in the role where film stars sort of fail in Pakistan, as far as consumerism is concerned. Yeah. But the question is that in India, where they're so strong, they're huge, they're demigods, right?
Yeah.
How does that fit in? How does that fit in for the people? Selling a microwave to a person, to millions of people actually, who think you're God. Is that fair for film stars? Is that fair?
You mean why film stars advertise? Is that the question you're asking?
I'm just saying, is it fair? Is it fair? Is it ethical?
Well, ethical, I don't think there's anything unethical. Is it fair? I mean, is the world fair? You know, does the man on the street deserve to be sleeping there and you and I sleeping in better cars?
I'm just talking about a social responsibility. I'm talking about a social responsibility as far as...
social responsibility, I think every human being must have. Across board, why just actors or whatever. Of course, if you're in a public domain, there is a greater social responsibility because every word is kind of, you know, lapped up, or everything that you do is... But that's why when there have been actors who have not been so socially responsible, the media or the people have also given them the flack for it, and sometimes rightly so. But in terms of consumerism, what you were talking, it has been true in the US, it's been true everywhere. So I don't think it's anything hugely different. I mean,
I'm not pinpointing it out as something different, but coming from, for example, the morals of Gandhiism, so to say, to cricketers selling petroleum today.
No, but I mean, you're talking of an idealist world. You're talking about, is everyone a Gandhian? No, it isn't. Is that true of any country in the world? You know, Martin Luther King, the US, or Jinnah in your country, or whatever. So we can't be that naive to think that all the ideals are being implemented. And like I said, this country is full of paradoxes. This country has it all. You have the most idealistic, Baba Amte, a great social activist who died recently, and you know, was a phenomenal human being. He dedicated his entire life to serving people and to fighting for causes that were important. And not just him, there are many unknown people who are silently fighting battles for others. So while that is true, there are also, we in the media, or you know, whether it's print media, electronic media, are giving that kind of space. Media is the new tool in today's times. When you have 24 hours channel, when you have hundreds of papers, you know, you're just trying to fill them in. And what do you fill them in? You fill them in with this kind of trash. You open the morning paper and it's depressing Because the more important items, at least that you think are that small, and things that you think are useless are that big. But you know, we live in such times.
All right, which takes me to my next topic, which you've spoken quite vehemently on, the societal reflection of sex and violence. All
I
right?
haven't actually spoken that vehemently about it.
Well,
Spoken about other issues.
this
I've
isn't. This is,
spoken more about secularism than I've spoken about
we'll get to
sex and
secularism in a
violence.
bit.
No, but
But the Telegraph, overall, it makes me a little concerned actually because there is so much of violence, there is so much of sex. I don't mean exploring sexuality, that's a separate thing, but sex and violence as a form of entertainment. We are becoming numbed by it, and some of the cinema does reflect that.
well, for one, let me tell you, I don't know how the press is in Pakistan. If I would do a homework, I would never quote from press because they half the time, you know, take things out of context or write it differently. But to
So
just get the
this is a
essence.
misquote.
No, it's not a misquote, but it's probably contextual. I don't know in what context, maybe after Fire, because sometimes people mix up the word sexuality, a film about sexuality, with having sex in a film, which are two completely different things. Or violence. I mean, I did a film called Bavandar, which is about a woman being gang raped by an upper caste society to kind of teach her a lesson. So yes, it had sex in the sense but you know, to rape a woman is not sex in the film, or to violently gang rape her is not violence in the sense it is violence, but what is the intent behind that violence? So I think whether it's sex or whether it's violence or whether any of these things are neutral terms. How you use it, what you use it for, what's the intent of the maker, all that is important. Nowadays it's been used very frivolously, and that is what we've gotten numbed. I have said something similar and I do understand where you're coming from, but it's more about seeing so much of it that it just numbs you, which is not only in cinema. When a Westerner comes to our countries and sees the poverty and they say, oh my God, how do you guys live with so much of poverty? Because we've gotten used to it. We've gotten used to small little kids begging on the street. Does it touch us the same way that it touches a Westerner who's not used to it? Or the kind of consumerism in the US, it makes me sick. The kind of portions that you get to eat makes me sick because I'm like, you know, no human being can eat that much. Why do you have to sell so many things and sometimes so cheap and yet have homeless people? So it depends what you get numbed with, and that's the struggle, not to numb yourself. That's the real struggle in living in our kind of contexts, not to get used to things.
All right, speaking of getting numb, what about female objectification of women in Indian cinema? Not world cinema, we can talk about world cinema in a second. Indian cinema.
Yeah, over the years probably it has become more, and again paradoxically there have been other characters where strong women characters also have been explored. Women all over the world in that sense have been objectified. There is a lot of sex sort of connected with it, selling of products, something that has nothing to do with women. Even a male product is often sold with a woman standing there. And she's also been defined that she's got to be fair and lovely. My other personal struggle is to say, I'm dark, I'm never going to use a fairness cream, I'm not apologetic about it, I do not suffer from inferiority complex. Because you go to a shop and they say, Madam, ye cream le lijiye, isse tan nikal jayega. I'm like, excuse me, ye tan janam se hai. So, yes, there has been all of that, but I think a society at large is responsible for it. It's not just cinema.
Okay, this